My perspective, I think, is slightly different because I've not just been in the system, but now I'm a case manager and I work with these kids that have been in the system, and I work with ones that have transitioned and emancipated out of it. So what I see are a lot of the same patterns. The feeling of worthlessness because you were tossed aside. You weren't wanted by your parents anymore. Then the overcompensation, where they have egos that are so huge to compete, to overcompensate for what they really truly feel inside, which is worthless. A lot of the same patterns, even though every kid is different and unique and every situation is slightly different, a lot of the emotional responses to being rejected is similar. You know, the one thing that most people probably have noticed with most foster youth is they tend to have a, what's the best way to put it? They tend to have that sort of, that need to have things. The young girls get pregnant early, so they have something permanent in their lives, something that will love them forever, which will be their baby. Then they also do things like they just want clothing, articles, watches, phones, whatever, music. Trying to fill that need for that, and that need is really the hole that's left behind that most people have when they're growing up. Most people have the that one set of people that will love you no matter what. You have that stability, that foundation, and foster kids don't have that. They have a big gaping hole. They don't have the confidence to know that there is always going to be somebody there for them. So they're always trying to fill that hole with either things or drugs, or, I mean, some overeat, some cut, some don't respect their bodies. They just whore themselves out, or they don't have a stable relationship. I mean, there's just a lot of the negative things that happen to them, and then they repeat the pattern, and unfortunately it's like a cycle. So I always notice that one of the first things, if you ask any former foster youth what would have made things easier for you, the number one answer most of the time is if the people that had worked with me just shared a little bit about themselves, a little bit of something, you know, not to cross the professional barriers, but just something that would make them feel like they knew them a little bit, or that they cared enough to share a little bit. I mean, just a tiny bit. And that's actually something that I talk about when I talk about developing that relationship in the classes that I teach for de-escalating situations in the houses and things like that. I tell them your personal relationship that you build with them is going to be the number one tool that you use to de-escalate the situation, because they're not going to want you to not be cool with them. Because if they feel they have that personal relationship with you, they feel like there's some actual care behind what you're doing with them, they will respond to that, because that's part of what their need is to be filled, that big hole that's gaping there. So if you show them that you're not here just for the paycheck, that you're actually working with them to do something, they'll respond. And that's usually why I have such a good success rate with my kids, because I am straight up with them.